now she knocked out a thing, from school, and we want to tell them that you don't do anything, the police don't do anything, because I'm out of there. What are we supposed to do? We get big money off their property. Yeah, we're not planning. So like they're like, I guess, like, all our planning. So, I see.
I can see his face. And he thought he wasn't pretty white shirt. And no contrast to that.
And I noticed that. And then there was. They never even arrested her. They didn't even take her away. They just let her be down. Again, it's not how that works. Yeah. If you can do, that's done through a platform. And the public doesn't understand that. So now she knocked out the council of school.
Oh, there's Shelley. Shelley, we're all yours for our field trip.
Great.
How are you guys?
Hey man, how are you?
How are you?
Good to see you.
You too.
How's the summer treating?
Great.
Good.
Absolutely great. Yep. Trying to get more time off from the boss.
Okay. Hear that? Opportunity here.
Rick, do you guys need a police escort or are you going to be safe?
I think we'll be all right. Yeah, I did.
She left here. She's leaving.
Yeah, she's going to get it, 100%. She told me, I want to say,
They gave us a grand a year.
week and a half. How much?
20 grand.
Right, so guaranteed.
It ain't worth that.
No, I said to her, well, let's see, I said to her, I understand you're dealing with special treatment. I said, you gonna get to these kids here. I said, you're gonna feel like they're. I said, it's not gonna be good. She goes, listen,
This ain't good.
you're probably good at what you do. I said, I'm good at what you do, and I'm sure you'll do good. He said, I said, Jimmy, Craig Hutter, they said, we were in on the so they said, we were either escorted to the spot for him to the office. But it was one minute. Some teachers said, get up and walk, go to the office, they'd send that off. They'd walk it down, another kid, they'd send it off, and you ain't allowed to stop, there'd be a fight. It's crazy, I never saw anything like what Craig said it worse. They, in his law enforcement career outside of those, they did. He said the worst day of my career was at Gateway as an officer. And I think played McKee School. Oh, he said, Tim, I've never seen anything like it. He said, the girls, they get 2 bucks. Like, you gotta get a fucking big. And he's like, Greg's like, I want to punch you in your face. He said, they're fighting, they're fucking throwing shit. He said, we worked from the time we got there
till the time everybody left the parking lot. And he said, this was the least enjoyable day I ever had in law enforcement. I worked in it. Years.
I was Kennywood in 1996 Pendos Day. We from 4 o'clock on till we closed the park at like 7:30, quarter to 8. Closed the park because it was so bad. It was one brawl, just one continuous fight. It was wild. It was melee. They were showing up. They came rolling in U-Hauls. They were in U-Haul trucks. They were rolling thing. It was wild. We opened up the actors gate and we just shoved them right across 830. What'd you hear about it? Who's that? Northern Regional. What school district is that? Northern Regional? What do they do? Because one of the things that HP, her daughter goes to that school, and she said that they are hiring, Northern Regional PD is hiring people to work in the school. They have to. They're armed, but they can't. So, but how is it that the municipality is hiring armed guards to work the schools?
Well, I don't know that, but the state law now says.
Right.
You have to have one armed officer trained in police force, which means the Plum district. I'm just saying, to be compliant. But then you're compliant with that.
But why wouldn't, if that's accurate, why
I
wouldn't
don't
the school district?
know that it is. Because first of all, here's
How are you?
does that encompass that whole district?
Because, well, that's more than fine residents.
Yeah.
Because, Northern Regional, fine, Marshall,
Rick, did you see my text?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me check right now. So she's been giving updates. If you want to come in for her update,
Turn your iPad on. Oh, I'm going in there? You just said you're coming in for Shelley, something you said back down.
Wait, you don't have to do that since you were hired.
Yeah, wait, complete fire. This is the hire and fire room. I sat back down.
Business that he didn't have to. How you guys doing? Good. It was a business that he didn't drive over to. It didn't. That very lunch crowd, early evening, but he didn't crash, which is what they were. So he bought it. And, it was okay for a while, but then to shit. And I think he was down and out with money, and that was what he decided to start. On money. But
I've only met him a few times. He always seemed like an okay guy. I never had a problem with him.
I can tell you this right now. Just not knowing that's the last thing. Joe was a different guy. Joe could be arrogant. Joe didn't have a filter. He could say what he was saying. If he didn't like you, you were dead to him. There was no coming back from him. If you did like you, you did it. So Joe would stay down there on the never drank. But he would go down there and charging people, you would do arrests, you would do search warrants, you would put warrants on people for burglary. Everybody hated on you.
Who's the hunter, the man, what are you gonna do, what are you gonna do?
We had one call detective, police detective. It was a rotation. So after, we had something come in from Syracuse, we expected miles fired. You were a draft officer, and you weren't allowed to drink, and you weren't allowed to get out of town. You didn't, there are some before you that thing. But even if you got called 2, 3 times, you got the overtime. If you didn't call out at all, which happened a lot, you got a comp day for each week during the year that you were the on call, plus the overtime. So there would be times when I have serious incidents. I call out detectives. Yeah. And I called him. I called him. I called him. That's seriously. Never one time. We were out. I've ever seen it happen. Was hungry. And so I knew that. So it's just I get it. Very polarized. And when I say that, that's an understatement. Okay, so you either hate him I was in an accident, motorcycle accident, and you're just not, he's crazy. It was on, it was such a big, from him, with the steering, smiling, it's on video, and everything, I mean, he, I don't know, he's still walks like this. But he's not special, he's a kid. It's like 17 or 18, 19 years old. And,
See it when you clear it up.
oh, he grew up. Yeah, he had a year. He was, I think, 20 now, pension. So you got your notebook
For what?
for anything?
I didn't bring it.
In case something comes up.
I didn't bring it. Quit making fun of my notebook.
When I say your tablet, I literally mean, like,
My
most people
tablet?
think they mean like
No, I haven't. I've been carrying that thing with me for 30 years. It's not gonna change now.
You know, that's, well, I should say.
Nope. Oh.
Jeez. I feel like it's in some that's
Same girl.
and we record this. She's in an incident officer. She somebody she I don't know. But one of the other kid on her side good idea to go knock, well, on this girl's house, have a conversation, get a letter. If they call, they send me on there. Okay, like, for real, be specific. Okay, so you have a conversation. And I don't know if I'm celebrating the 100th Jay, I think proceeds. This so or at least you'll get the piece of it. They're trying to accelerate this and call the police. And they're charging her. She didn't intentionally do it, but she did recklessly. She was charged with the statute. So gee, but we want these people out of here. You need to get them out of here. Lincoln. Police don't do evictions. That's not our job. And I guess they said that girl's still in there. You need to take her job that night. You need to take her job. You just let her in. I'm gonna say we're still in her.
All right. Good.
Sits down on the seat.
Yes, behind your spot here.
Just hit this. Just gonna line them up more. So,
15 minutes later, the big guy reporter, probably Aaron's but we'll see.
I think I just ordered 9 radios today. You're really, or 7.
That's what we asked for, is that.
And a radio from my.
Yeah, his
They're
looks
starting,
like,
yeah, I bought those in 2008.
really, of course, it's like an 18-month shelf life, apparently they have, they're not very long.
See, here's the problem. I say, well, I'm 50 batteries.
That's what problem.
I said, I'm 50. He said, Tim, it's not a good decision. He goes, I'm gonna tell you, economically. He said, you buy them now, the price is always gonna go up.
Yeah.
He said, you're gonna save on the long run, but here's the problem.
Even if we don't use them and they sit.
1 year warranty for the day delivery. So I have them sit on the shelf for 2.5, 3 weeks.
What if we rotated them out though?
No, he just, you know, for 1 year.
You know,
So just rotate.
That's what I did with mine, Maria.
We could literally take it out of the package a year after we got it. Plug it in through, and it doesn't work.
this is on this is back row over now, so
So we have.
She has a great idea, that's what I did with mine. I did buy more
and then
and just rotate them in the rotation.
That's fine.
And that's fine.
I gotta figure out how to track them. There's so many everybody wants them.
you can get it.
If you push the button.
wanna know our ranking.
Oh, they're coming.
That's the beauty of it, like, it's just consider we're building anymore. Because we're not calling up on the radio, nobody hears it, but the people that.
Something you said, possibly.
We had one today.
Yeah.
We had one here today.
I did see that,
We had one last week.
Sounds like your mother.
I thought it
The
was,
kid was like.
Am I entering into a closed-minded environment?
that's so scary.
And then,
It sounds like.
and then we had another one where one of the teachers literally got sick in the middle of class, trying to run out, she knew she was.
Honestly,
We're starting to throw.
consider the possibility that the board isn't, just consider that.
And they're,
Doesn't matter, man.
They get out.
Doesn't matter. It could be wrong.
I did see that.
So Mark was.
It could be wrong. There could be more intelligence out there than 3 minutes. And you limit it by that. I have 3 topics I'm prepared to talk about today.
So just so you know, we are not the people that make the decisions.
Oh, I understand. Well, then, guess what?
Mr. Backer.
Guess what? Perhaps you need to take it to those people.
You know, you can make those comments.
I had something else to talk about.
Yeah, I like that.
What is it?
Yeah, you're welcome to, you have a comment section.
That's what I'm up here for.
Trevor, I'm Howard. Nice to see you.
So that was Paul. He was like, and it was that was
Hey, how are you? I am well. I don't know.
I didn't want to interrupt your microphone.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Oh, you'll be here.
See, I see all
He's not.
Yeah, please. Me and JC for sure.
That sucks, doesn't it? That's a hell of a lot.
Welcome to the table. Thanks for coming. Oh, look, it's great guys. Happy
Because there's a couple of scoops missing.
Thanks,
So that's one. Yeah, I didn't, me neither.
All right, I'd like to call the, I'd like to call the Tuesday, September 12th, or I'm sorry, September 10th discussion meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Macro, roll call.
Mr. Adams.
Here.
Dr. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Arendt. Here. Ms. Chudderwitz. Ms. Chudderwitz, are you in line with us?
We'll let her speak.
Sorry.
Mine? Oh,
Hello? Here you go.
is mine, is it working?
Ms. Sherwood, can you respond one more time? Please, your volume is down.
Maybe there.
Mr. Caligiuri.
Hello?
Here.
Dr. Richardson.
Here.
Mr. Sokolsky.
Here.
Mrs. Stepnick.
Here.
Mr. Strapke.
Here.
And Student Representative Drew Thacker.
Here.
All right, the board met in executive session on September 10th, 2024 to discuss matters of litigation, safety, personnel, and real estate. We'll now go to citizens' comments. Ms. Macro.
We invite anyone from the audience to make citizens' comments at this time. We ask that you, at one at a time, come to the podium, state your name, your residency within Plum, and then we'll provide you 3 minutes to speak to the board. This is just a reminder that this is a time to provide your comments, suggestions, concerns to the board rather than a question and answer session or discussion with the board. I will put the timer up on the monitor so you can be aware of your own time, but I will give you a 30-second warning when your time is coming to a close. When you are finished speaking, I just ask that you step to the clipboard at the end of the table here and write your name down so I spell it correctly in the minutes. Is there anybody that would like to comment at this time? Please step to the podium.
Hi, good evening. Ron Vertus, my name. I'm here to ask the question, have you made decisions to move forward with the electric buses? Yes or no? I don't want to waste time. If you haven't already made the decision, I don't need to be talking. If you haven't made them, I have questions of the board.
You can make statements and comments, but it's not a time for question and answer, so you
That
can
was the only point.
provide
I don't want to waste the
information.
time, okay? I don't know if you made that decision yet or not. So, excuse me, I don't play well in other people's sandbox. I'm post-concussional PTSD. Have you set up a monitoring system just to find out what the cost of the charging systems are going to take into the bus garage, the electrical upgrades are going to be needed? The cost of charging these buses alone, the fire hazard that they are liable for, and the different type of extinguishing that's necessary to put out those batteries, either on the road when children are in those buses or in the garage and being maintained, which also leads to, are you going to prepared for certified mechanics to work on these things? And just the additional overall maintenance that they're going to take that's going to be different than the buses that we're currently using. They're predictable. These are not. The cost of excessive weight to the local roads and bridges that are going to be incurred by these batteries that go into these buses. The local roads are not built for excessive weights. These bridges are not built for excessive weights, but yet they're bringing them into these areas. They have found that getting up these hills in colder weather could be an issue. I don't want to talk about Colorado, but look into Asheville, Kentucky, or Asheville, North Carolina. They made these decisions to go with electric buses a long time ago. They have not been satisfied whatsoever. So if you're not doing your research and looking into those things, you're not doing our community a good service. A return on investment. I know you're looking at free buses, but you all look well educated and you know there's such thing as no free lunch. So you get a free bus, but it's going to cost more to run these things than what you're currently paying and what you're doing. Please, prove me wrong. Do the research, do the numbers, call these people. Have you asked your bus employees what their opinion is on these things? They're the ones that have to tolerate it all. If you don't like what I'm doing, you don't want to make these decisions, put it to a vote with the community. Put it on a ballot. Let the community make the decision, since we're going to have to incur these excessive charges that may not be considered when you're taking this free lunch at buses. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other comments at this time?
Name is Chad Darnell, live at 605 November Drive, Plum, PA, and my children are a part of as far as the Plum School District itself. Now, a few weeks ago, we brought up as far as the concerns of the bus stop being on New Texas Road, not a merge. Thank you, Mr. Walsh, as far as the information on that. Still just a lot of concerns as far as getting this thing moving forward. And as far as a time frame, I know we definitely would like to have that sped up. if possible, especially now. Yesterday we seen 2 PennDOT trucks parked in the neighborhood, maybe 15 feet away from, as far as New Texas Road itself, which honestly put the kids right on New Texas itself. So a lot of concerns, safety issues whenever it comes up on that side of things. So again, as far as whenever it comes up to the width of the neighborhoods, I do have that information whenever it comes up to our neighborhood and other neighborhoods as well. And also if it needs to be a committee where it's like, hey, what's the best operations or options for moving the buses inside of neighborhoods? I'd like to be a part of that, as I have 18 years of logistics experience and would be able to bring this information as far as help the school district make things more efficient. So, but just wanted to bring that to light, and as far as hopefully for a fast resolution, because again, as far as the safety of the children, I know that's definitely at the forefront of as far as the school district here. Also, one other thing I would like to bring up is I did speak to Mr. Coles, in which I did tell him that we were going to be here at the school district meeting as far as this concern. And you know what, quite frankly, it's very concerning because this is his department. And as far as the last logistics director that I had the same concerns with him or conversations, it seems like it's starting to go around kind of like the same of deaf ears. So that's perception, I understand. But again, it's bad perception. So I want to get this resolution as far as get this thing fixed, as far as put in place very fast. So again, because of the safety and well-being of the children. Thank you.
I just walked up, but okay. My name's Mark Phillips. My address is 431 September Drive. 2 things. I realized that, you know, I'm with Chad, kind of, sort of, on the same subject. And I realized that you're working towards some resolution to address the situation. I noticed that on the New Texas, there's a thing that keeps track of how fast people are going. And I would like to suggest that they move that further down the hill, because you're coming out of a curve, ain't no one really going that fast, but then you go down a hill and that's where everyone's going fast, and then you come to where the bus stop is. And so I put forth the suggestion that maybe move it down the hill. That way you get a more accurate reading as to how fast people are traveling on New Texas. The second thing is, I know they changed the bus so that the young kids don't have to cross the street to get on the bus, but the high school kids, I believe, cross the street in the morning to get on the bus. So I just want to bring that also to your attention.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments at this time? Dr. Anderson?
Thank you. Right, academic achievement and activities, myself, lead board liaison. Letter A, we have grants and donations. The big one obviously is the first one, the donations from the We Are All Mustangs Here Foundation in the amount of $146,000, and it's linked there for you to show you the itemized items. Does anybody have any questions or concerns on that?
Dr. Anderson, I would just ask that this is an annual item that from time to time we want to accept the gracious donations to the district. And over the course of the last year, the total has been over $313,836.69.
Yep.
And I know that we're all very appreciative of that, not only the money that comes to the district, but goes to the borough and other groups that feed into our system.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we sent the thank you video to them and just continue to be very grateful for the We Are All Mustangs Here Foundation and their support of our athletes and extracurriculars. Okay, do we have 5 to move that one forward? Yep. And then we have Ms. Lorenz and her donors Tues, Ms. Griggle and food services, and then Mr. Evans through donors Tues. Any questions or concerns on any of those? Do we have 5 to move them forward? Just again, a continuous thank you. Go ahead.
Just to highlight what our teachers, our faculty member continue to do. Last year, our faculty and donations, $81,411.08 came into the district, alternative revenue. And it is greatly appreciated. Our faculty and staff do a tremendous job, and already this year, we're at $27,892 in donations coming into the district. I just wanted to highlight the good work.
It's only September.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're through those, and then Mr. Boyer's requesting to attend the Battelle for Kids Annual Ed Leader 21 Conference, October 20th through the 23rd in Indianapolis at a cost of $1,800 to the district. And Battelle is who we have Portrait of Graduate through. Anything you want to add to that, Dr. Boyers? While you have a cough drop in.
It's just an opportunity really to connect with schools who are in the same stage that we're in, but also schools who have crossed the border and implemented their Portrait of a Graduate, to learn from them, to learn their successes, but also talk about some opportunities that exist, and so to network. So that way when January hits, we can move forward with our actual portrait and put it in action.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good time to say that that's going to kick off on Monday night, right? Monday night for the Portrait of a Graduate meeting with the community, which I'm really excited for. 85 different members of the community who will be a part of that and able to come and give input and expertise into what we're looking for our graduates, which will really set a strategic vision. Do we have any questions or concerns? Do we have 5 to move that forward? Okay, wonderful. And then last, the Northern Westmoreland agreement for the 24-25 school year. Ms. Sedlak, anything to add to that?
No, we just have 2 students. This is something that we've done throughout the years.
And why do they go there instead of Forbes?
Forbes Career Technology Center does not offer welding, and so if there's a career technology center that is in the proximity, we can send our students there.
Perfect. I knew it was one. I couldn't remember what it was, what the trade was. Okay. Do we have 5 to move that forward? Awesome. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go out of term. We have nothing for community engagement, inclusion, and outreach. Dr. Richardson, lead board liaison. We're going to go all the way down to operations for Hayes Design Group to present, which will make more sense, and then come back up to finance and continue on. So operations, Mr. Adams, lead board liaison.
Good evening, and just the Hayes Design Group on the O Block and the middle school. So we just want to.
I just want to add just a little bit to that.
Okay.
This has been an ongoing conversation that we have had publicly and with the board. It started with the initial facilities assessment. That was September 13th, 2022. November 1st, Hayes Design Group gave the update on the educational programming results. February 14th, 2023, Hayes Design Group identified our projects. In June of 23, PFM gave a presentation providing financial options related to the Hayes Design Group costs that were identified. December 19th, 2023, Hayes Design Group came back and shared the scope and the cost of the potential projects at both the middle school and the elementary building. In January, PFM once again gave a presentation providing financial options related to the identified projects. And I would argue that in February of this year, when we received the Davis demographics, it was somewhat eye-opening to this board that according to the population trends, that O Block Elementary is expected to have increased enrollment. And I think we started to see that this year with an added section of kindergarten that was added right before the start of school. And it's projected to continue to increase. We also learned at that time is that the population of Pivick Elementary is decreasing. So some of the projects and the scope that we visited there, especially during our board walks, we realized that we could table that discussion because there will be space, according to the study, in a few years. After that, PFM once again gave a presentation in regards to the finances and the bonds and the underwriting. to this board. So it's been an ongoing conversation. What I would say, Dr. Anderson, is that you specifically in this board have said that as a team of 10, the expectation is that we perform at the highest level of governance, which is board responsibility, and operations, which is superintendent's responsibility. Today, I thought it would be nice to share some really good news that we received today. The district received information about the environmental repair grant. We were rewarded $1,909,473. The grant focused on replacing exterior doors and windows, replacing HVAC chillers and pump systems, and installing a dedicated outdoor air system to improve air quality. Most of the work at the middle school, which is the scope of the work that we're looking at. So it's really good news that we can offset that with alternative revenue instead of local money or having to borrow against that. This board established a vision and a direction in our conversations about the infrastructure work that is needed at the middle school and the capacity concerns at O Block Elementary. The administration responded by gearing our efforts by looking at alternative revenue led by Mr. Preston Hartman. By the way, he just brought in $5 million. I know we just heard some concerns about electric school buses, but that is potentially going to save the district $1.3 million in fuel and maintenance costs. So I want to thank the board because I think that by setting the vision and the administration operating and moving in that direction, I think all stakeholders in the borough win. This evening, we have several people that are going to share updates to the board. First will be Rob Renzi from Hayes Design Group. We also have Jamie Doyle from PFM, and we have Sean Guerin and Joe Muscatello in regards to our bond and underwriting. And they will be available to all the board members to answer any questions that you may have as we hear the update in regards to the scope of the work that's being discussed. So, Rob, it's all yours. Sorry, I'm a little lengthy on my soapbox here, but I really wanted to
Great intro.
take a moment.
Great reminder of what we've done over the last couple of years. Good evening, everyone. Well, I'm here with hopefully a good presentation that's brief, but also hits to the high points that you all want to hear. We were authorized to begin the schematic design effort for the project at O Block as well as at the middle school this summer in the July timeframe. We're about mid-stride of that effort right now, so I think this is a good point to give you an update as to where we are and the things that we're looking at throughout the course of this effort. The first couple slides are just just for your packets to kind of review afterwards. We have the same team that is on this project as was on the study that Dr. Walsh mentioned from 2022 and 2023. So we're building upon the knowledge and expertise of this group within each of the facilities. Again, we have the district team that we've been working with closely through the effort as well. Just a little bit about the schedule. Again, this design is an iterative process, so we're building upon the conceptual effort and the facility assessment effort that was done in 22 and 2023. So it's now given us a chance in this schematic design phase, which is the first of 3 phases in a real project. So this is the phase that we're going to go and kind of lift up the hood and look a little bit closer at things. We're going to be validating and vetting some of the assumptions and some of the decisions that we made in that conceptual phase with everyone. We're going back and looking at sizes and capacities and programming type things, as well as going back and looking more closely at the conditions in the buildings. So that's giving us a chance to kind of do that. This schedule, if you go back real quickly to that, is, the gray items, we finished up those, we're about mid-stride there. Our interim update today, and then we're going to be kind of finishing this up over the next 6 to 8 weeks. We'll be back in November to give you the full presentation along with the probable cost for those projects. Dr. Walsh mentioned, a good update on sort of where we've come, and I think, us working with a budget on this project has been a big portion of it too. We want to make sure we're focusing on, what we've been asked to do is look at both of these projects, but also look at, them independently. We're going to look at O-Block to make sure that we're addressing not only those capital maintenance needs, but also the capacity and programming aspects of that, but all while trying to do it with economy in mind and trying to do it in such a way that we can focus money and position money to go toward the middle school as well. We don't want to use all the budget on one building. So this schematic effort is going to be our way to present the board with ways to control that. This will be a chance early on to see what's in and what's out of the projects. The next phase is design development. After this, we'll be coming in November. If you choose to move forward with these projects, we'd ask for authorization to go into that phase, which is about 3 to 4 months for, say, the O-Block project, and then maybe a couple months for a middle school project of some size. Construction documents, that's when you really lay details and all the drawings and specs come together on the project. That's about 4 to 5 months. And then you get into bidding and award and then construction phase. So you have a lot of road ahead, but this is the first phase, and we want to give you a good solid foundation to build upon. We're going to start first with O-Block Elementary, and I'm just going to give you an overview of a lot of what has occurred over the last 6 weeks. The first document is the programming summary document. And really the gist of this, and I'm not going to go through all of the pieces and parts of it, is to see kind of at each category is color-coded based on the type of spaces in the building. And you can see on the left column is the existing building, and on the right column is proposed. And there's an increase in each one of those areas. It's the additional capacity that's occurring in that building. It's about 10,000 square feet of space is being added to the building in terms of program space, and then you have corridors, stairs, restrooms, all those things as well that get you to about a 15,000 square foot addition at O-Block. Next slide. The next couple slides are floor plans showing how those spaces lay out in the building, and then the big purple bubble on the right side is a quick overview of basically the main takeaway. We wanted to get this building sized capacity-wise to handle students now. As we understand from Mrs. Feit, there's a push and pull in that building each year to get spaces for children now. We also want to be forward thinking with a demographic study to make sure you have enough space in the future as well, even for whether you just stick with the half-day kindergarten or if you choose in the future to move towards something that's full day, you have those spaces. You can see that there are 5 classrooms per grade level in the proposed plan. There's also a significant increase in the specialized classrooms or the special ed classrooms that also have private toilets for those rooms that are appropriate. Same category, other spaces down there, learning support rooms, reading support rooms. There's a collaborative classroom where classrooms can come together and collaborate and share resources, sensory rooms, de-escalation room, and then going back to making sure that there's a dedicated special classroom for art, band, music, library, and STEM maintained in the building.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to clarify because I think even some board members had questions about this, and I can't remember who. But in doing this addition, let me see if I'm asking it right. We're not putting this addition in because we're presuming we're going back to full-day kindergarten. This addition is necessary due to Davis demographics, regardless of the decision for half-day or full-day kindergarten.
This decision is to, alleviate some of the strain that's on the building now, first and foremost, to get some of that addition, and then also, the remainder of that is to handle the growth that's coming.
Yeah, I just want to make sure from all stakeholders that that's what we're saying. I don't want anybody to think that, because I know to the board, the task force said we'd move forward with reconsidering kindergarten in 25, 26. However we go about doing it, however the new board that is here at that time goes about doing that, the decision to do this is having foresight. If that decision is to move forward with a full-day kindergarten, we have adapted accordingly, but regardless, the Davis demographics are telling us we have to do this in this building because we won't be able to have capacity otherwise.
Correct.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Dr. Anderson, why don't I ask, because I noticed the middle school slide, and I don't want to jump ahead, but the slide on the projected, all the addition and all the things we're doing on center, or block, sorry, I'm telling you to get me out of that habit. But that we're doing on that building has no dollar amount, an approximate dollar amount. What is the approximate dollar amount on this part of the $30 million for the addition?
On O Block Elementary? Is that the question?
I think you're asking how much is the addition, how much of the 30 million is?
Right, because the middle school, there's approximate dollar amount per project, but I noticed.
Got it.
None of
Gotcha.
that said in the
Yeah.
center.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, we're not at that point yet. That will be where in November when we come back, we will have a conceptual estimate or an estimate of cost for O Block. We're trying to, again, scale back. We've cut about a little more than 1,000 square feet off the addition since December when we presented to the board then. We've looked at the existing classroom spaces to try to better utilize existing walls and less reconfiguration within. I'll go over some other site-related things, but we're trying to, again, economize, hit what's needed there, but also try and balance that a little bit better so there's some money to be diverted to the middle school.
I think what we heard from the board and the direction that the administration has been taking is that, for lack of a better word, the middle school has been put off in regards to addressing some of the infrastructure and some of the needs of that building.
Prior.
Right. Once we saw the Davis demographics, we realized we could scale back. Then we also started to have conversations about, do we really need all this parking since we don't have open house anymore?
Right.
And all the excavating and the costs associated with that, and approximately $1 million in just that project alone. So our goal is to scale back and look at what are the essentials at O Block Elementary so that we can add enhancements, significant enhancements, I might add, to the middle school.
Right.
I believe that the direction we're going in can, one, handle the capacity K through 12 for this district for years to come. Not only at the elementary and giving future boards the option of discussion of full-day kindergarten, but just looking at the Davis demographics of what our enrollment is going to look like 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road, and not having to reconfigure, which was a concern of many families when I came back to Plum 7 years ago. So that is the direction we've been moving in, is scaling back O Block, but still making sure we're meeting the needs of that building, and also making sure there's equity between O Block Elementary and Pivot Elementary.
Yeah.
In regards to what the environment in which our students are learning. I'm sorry.
No, and I think to add to that, this agenda, there's no way to, well, I guess you could have, put them side by side, but it's the order you're going in, but that order doesn't make O Block any more important than Plum Middle, because I do think prior boards, it's kind of gotten sloughed off, and I don't think that's what we want to do. We want to be pragmatic about both of them and financially, fiscally responsible in doing so. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just to add to that too, at the middle school, there aren't the spatial needs, or the short of a space is more pronounced, or it exists at O Block. At the middle school, there's space that can be utilized there. As I mentioned, these are floor plans. Again, we're on the lower level of the building. The addition is the back, the top side of the page there with the red boundary around it. When we get to the site plan, I think this is a very, very similar plan to the board saw back in December. It's just been revised to bring its size down a bit. Next slide, please. The main level of the building is, again, same configuration. You have the same capacity overview on the right. We're trying, as I said, to try to utilize space as best we can in the building by leaving walls where they are and just doing moderate renovations where we can throughout the building. But again, hitting the whole building throughout. Next slide, please. This is the site plan. This kind of shows a graphic picture of what Dr. Walsh was mentioning there. On the right side of the plan, there's sort of a yellow dashed box. This is back in the conceptual effort. We were creating parking spaces in the neighborhood of over 200 spaces to handle some of those after hours numbers. we're looking to scale that back as well as potentially some of the bus loop reconfiguration at the front to bring that grading back, which is going to be a significant number to kind of reduce the scope of this project. On the back side of the building, again, we're looking at this parent pickup and drop-off location in the back of the building, which will be something we'll revise for the next presentation. Any other questions on O Block before we move to the middle school?
Ms. Veit, do you have anything to add before we leave your building?
I think just to your point, the space is much needed regardless of what happens in the future. The last 3 years I've been at O Block, the population has grown every year. We really are just out of spaces. And so it will serve the students so much better.
Yeah, and I remember now when you were talking about the addition, I remember standing outside with you and talking through a lot of the pitfalls, challenges, gaps, whatever words you'd like to use, and serving our special needs students, entries and exits and all of that. And so I appreciate what that addition will do for that as well. So
yeah, I think all of it, it's an older building, and so bringing it to where it needs to be in order to properly service our students is necessary.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
I have a quick question. We did quite a lot of touring. Is O Block the school that has the PT, OT room that's all bricked in?
Yep. Yeah.
Now, that moves, right? Like, we move that room, is that correct?
Yeah, go ahead. Mrs. Veit, if you want to speak to that.
Yes,
Can you hear her, Mr. Caligari?
Yeah, I can hear her.
Okay, yeah, that space was a very important space, and I think they did a wonderful job. Created multiple spaces for students to be serviced. Additionally, just the amount of meetings and people that we have to have in the building allows it to be in a much safer space for the students and for, I think, the staff members that are coming in as well.
Okay, yeah, but the space itself will move when they're receiving PT and OT services.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, it will. Yes.
Okay.
It's given us an opportunity to reorganize the building to have adjacencies where they want to be as opposed to where they are now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else on O Block before we move on to Plum Meadow? Okay.
All right, moving on to the middle school. Again, so we're trying to, and there is a narrative document that the board members have that accompanies this with a little more detailed information for each one of these scope items. They also correspond to the number chronology in the yellow. This first slide is kind of architectural, civil items throughout the building. Again, there's conceptual range numbers on the side, and these are really just order of magnitude for the board members to kind of see what ballpark we're in for each one of these. We do, once we move forward beyond today and start digging deeper into each one of these, we want to look at these more closely and make sure that we're within that range. We tried to give you a good bookend there to be within. So those are there for your understanding of how, the magnitude of each of those. Kind of skimming down through all of those. And then the plan on the right is basically to help you see where it is applying to that part of the building. We have some exterior repairs that are over the basement area, the old wrestling room, that is the dark purple 8.1 that's on the bottom of the page there. This is where there's water penetrating the building in the basement area. This is to correct that issue, kind of waterproof that, seal that off, drain it properly, make sure that you're protecting your asset. Even though that space is no longer used, we want to make sure it's staying dry and safe. 8.2 is all the exterior doors and windows and storefronts around the perimeter of the building. So that's every window and door around the exterior of the building, as well as the hardware. The third item is a big range. This is the roof work at the building, and there's a number of roof areas of the building that are of various ages, and some of them have been done recently, and some of them date back 20 years or so. So this is an area where we need to dig a little bit deeper. We want to be able to make sure that we're doing the areas, or addressing the areas that need to be addressed, and replacing only those areas, and then repairing where we need to, so that you have kind of a good watertight system over top of the whole building. You'll notice there is a link on here for some additional efforts for envelope investigation. There's for infrared scanning and for cores to the roof, and some additional efforts, visual efforts that'll help really see what's going on there in order to have an unbiased kind of input on that. We want to make sure, as I said, we want to make sure we're getting the right scope here. So the infrared is to kind of see where you have water that has penetrated and soaked into the insulation or decking of the roof now. That'll give us a sense of where all those really problematic areas are. And the cores will show us the depth of each roof area to know maybe how many layers of roof is on there, and what we're dealing with in terms of building upon different eras of things out there now. So this will help us basically know what we're going to proceed with or recommend proceeding with the roof.
It's my understanding that, this is a $3 million price tag looking at just the roof at the middle school. And because the weather is cooperating with us now and we don't have snow on the roof, it would be ideal for us to move this forward as soon as possible. Is that correct?
The scanning portion?
Yes.
Yes, I should mention that. That's a good point. This has to be done during this, favorable weather, lighting and that type of thing. So it's something, if you can authorize it, it would be something you want to do this fall.
So what I'm getting at, it's the middle school, the moisture scan, the O block, the moisture scan is $4,300, the roof core is $2,700. The middle school, the moisture scan is $5,300, the roof core $3,700, and then the assessment is another $5,000. So between the two, it's about $23,000, and I would say that that's money well spent in order for this board to make decisions, and it could potentially free up significant money to address other projects, and not having that data would be a challenge in regards to what do we replace and what we do not replace. The last thing we want is to happen what happened at O Block Elementary, where I'm reaching out to this board and asking for 5 to move forward to repair the roof that was failing in multiple locations. So I think having that data, my recommendation would be to move that forward this month. So while the weather's cooperating and when they come back in November, I think we'll be able to give more specific details in regards to the roofing needs at Plum Middle School. Does that capture it?
That did.
Yeah, do we need that itemized out?
I think we brought it on for conversation, but I think we need to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do?
I mean, just have the conversation. You don't have to break it out.
But we can then add it as an itemized list for the voting meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if we have 5 to move it forward.
We're discussing it now?
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
just not on there. Yeah, okay.
And this work would be done by an envelope consultant, an engineer who this is their job. They study roofs. Mrs. Schaefer's worked with them on other facilities in years past, and so she recommended them bringing them on based on kind of what we're dealing with here, trying to find the best solution for the roofs at both buildings.
Yeah, Mr. Schaefer, do you have anything to add to that?
The roofs that they have done for me have lasted well past what we had expected. So yes, this is a great avenue to do instead of just doing total replacements.
Okay.
And their assessments are very solid too.
Okay. Do we have 5 to move that forward to the voting meeting for the 24th, I think? Okay. Is that 5?
I had down with your county vote.
Yeah.
I want to see the dollar amount.
Ron, you were fine, you were good. Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay. Sorry.
Sorry, just a quick note for Mrs. Stepnick. The link inside the presentation has all the dollar amounts for the roof assessment.
Forget, I'll leave the finance part of this. I have no problem about happening, no problem with it, so I'll leave.
Thank you. Yep, go ahead.
Then moving on to item A4, this is the kitchen upgrades, so essentially kitchen equipment that wasn't replaced throughout the years, some of it dating back to the early 2000s. So selective replacement of those items that have been identified by our food service consultant, Mrs. Griggle. Then item 8.5 is replacing ceilings in the classroom areas of the library. There's, older ceilings in the building throughout. We think this is a good recommendable item to breathe new life in the building, also brighten up the spaces. And it also marries up with a lighting piece and the HVAC piece that you'll see in other pages too. So it's that would, basically all of the light purple areas would be where that new ceiling would be throughout the building. Also 8.6 is just a separate line item for corridor ceilings as well. 8.7 is upgrade all interior door hardware and some of the grills that are in the building. There's some functioning pieces throughout that need updated as well. So it's basically handling all the interior doors hardware throughout the building. And then 8.8 item is, again, from the study, just bringing into this discussion the addressing the conflict or the overlap at the corner of the football field and the track to correct that area of the site to make sure that they're separate and safe. Next slide is kind of, again, the same plan, but we're looking at mechanical and electrical and plumbing items throughout the building. M1 is replacing the control system, so basically converting over to digital controls where you have pneumatic throughout the building, in certain areas of the building. M.2 is modifying the HVAC and the art. There's some humidity issues in that area of the building, the art, FCS, and technology area. M.3 is new dedicated outside air system for all of the light purple areas. This is, those are all classrooms that have unit ventilator systems that bring in humidity along with the outdoor air that it's bringing in. So this dedicated outdoor air system supplements that and dehumidifies and brings in fresh air to all those spaces that will not challenge the mechanical system in the building. M.4, kind of M.4, 5, 6, 7, those are all mechanical, a little bit smaller items, but chilled water pump, burners at the boilers, hot water heating pumps. These are things that were identified at or near the end of their useful life in the building at the facility assessment. So they're good things to put into this project to make sure you have those items functioning. Replacing all the exhaust fans throughout the building, and then some plumbing work for the vent trap at the entrance of the building. Any questions on that page? And then the last page is sort of potential or other possible scope items you could consider that weren't maybe necessarily in the facility assessment capital improvements, but they are items that we would say would be worth considering to kind of refresh, redo, kind of put some TLC in some areas that maybe need some of those. P1 is sort of the front of the building, the entrance to the building, kind of redoing some of the exterior facade that is at the front. If you do the exterior doors and windows, you'll have all that at the front. This would be sort of it's ephes, like the material that's above that has discolored over the years, kind of redoing that whole front facade there. And as well as a secure entrance vestibule that sort of relates to maybe what's done at this building here a little better, at this building, and also addressing kind of where the SRO is in the building. Just really kind of coordinating all those in that P1 area. P.2 is the gymnasium area. There's been a lot of work the district has done in that space. This just kind of rounds it out, does some new painting in the space, some of the panels that are falling down in the space for acoustics at the roof deck and walls, and the safety pads around the room as well. So it kind of would really bring that room fully down almost.
Does it include bleachers or no?
It does not include bleachers on this.
Can you refurbish bleachers?
You can. I think there are some limits to that. I have to look more closely at the bleachers if that's something the board is interested in looking at.
Yeah.
And then P3 is a new dust collector. This kind of marries up with the roof scope a little bit. The current the dust collector is mounted on the roof, and it discharges the wood chips on the roof. So it is clogging some of the drains up there. It is prompting some of the maintenance that has to happen up there. So this recommendation is to replace that dust collector with a ground-mounted one, and the ductwork and everything that would be required to get that ground-mounted instead of roof-mounted. That is it for the last page. If there are any questions on any of these scope items.
I just want to add one piece is that we've been working with Hayes Design Group. We've been working with the building administration, working with our teachers, with different groups in regards to educational spaces in both of these buildings. Specifically the middle school, there is a balance, and we're going through and we're going to come back to the board with recommendations. Ms. Schaefer has been involved in regards to what are some projects that we believe that we'd like to move forward and others that we believe we could handle internally, that we believe in the long run we could save costs in doing so. But there are some that I think are also benefits to the community, not only the instructional space. For instance, the gym is used beyond phys ed class. And the football field. If you're familiar with Plum, the end zone is on the track, and just redefining that space. So there's some community enhancements that I believe are there also. The one with the security vestibule in the front, I think I've used the word with Mr. Straubke. If you drive by that building, it looks institutional, like a strip mall. It doesn't capture the quality of our system like our other buildings do in regards to being excited, like looking at this is our middle school. And I think you're right, looks a little dated and a little worn and faded in the front of that building. But there's also a safety component in regards to addressing that, which I believe is important. There's a lot of glass in front of that building and a lot of areas that we could reconfigure to make it even better. So.
Yeah. If it's all right, I'd like, Dr. Zarmak, do you have anything to add?
No, Dr. Walsh summed it up right there. I do think with those recommendations, it'll really enhance the educational spaces in the classroom, but also kind of get rid of the institutionalized look on the outside, and adding that security vestibule will also provide consistency from the middle school to the high school too, as far as that too. So I think those are all value adds.
And how about capacity? You're not in the same situation.
No, not.
Ms. Schaefer, anything to add on the middle school?
No.
No, I would, since Ms. Schaefer is right here. The one item that we were all cognizant of as we were looking at the scope of the work is one of the issues that this building has experienced with sewer odor in that building. And I asked Dr. Zarmak to maybe talk a little bit about this. I know that they have ran a camera through those pipes. Ms. Schaefer has talked about doing a smoke test. My understanding there was one done 2 years ago, so those results are going to be shared with her. But if we're going to go into this building, we want to make sure we're doing it right and we're leaving no stone unturned. Dr. Zarmak, how has that issue been in the building? I know that facilities has been working on more preventative maintenance, which seems to be an issue. We had sewer traps that dried up, which was causing that issue in the building. So any updates or any thoughts?
Once that occurred last year and the facilities department started doing the preventative maintenance, there haven't been any issues.
I haven't heard anything. I just want to make sure.
There's nothing all summer long, nothing. Ever since it was addressed last year, the preventative maintenance plan, it's been
good. Ms. Schaefer, anything you'd like to add in regards to making sure that if we're doing this work, we're getting it right the first time?
Knowing that whenever I had the system camera recently, they also put in some glycol in it too to make that a more wet system. If that can be possible to make it more wet, we did do that. So that should be able to keep the smell out too. So if you haven't had it lately, then I think we nailed it.
Awesome. Anything else from your perspective?
No, I just wanted to get the perspective from facilities and the building administrator in regards to the scope of the work and making sure that we're going down the right path. And Ms. Schaefer, you and I have talked on a couple of occasions about bringing some of that work in, and you believe it would be cost effective for us to do some of that work down the road.
Right.
And I would also add that looking at both buildings having a roofing plan in regards to all the roofs we have in the district, we need to have a long-range plan and not wait till the warranty's up and that they're failing.
Right.
That we're putting money aside in capital reserves.
Right. And let's say that we do get something, the smell does come back. There is the ability now to put a pipe inside a pipe. Instead of digging up the terrazzo and all, we'll be able just to slide a pipe in there.
Wow, okay.
So there's potential to do other things other than the massive.
Which we can find that out in some of these testing that we're doing to understand. Okay.
I think one other, just to kind of underscore one of the scope items that I mentioned earlier that hits a lot of the buildings, there's, it's 8.5, M.3, and E.1. Those are all the classrooms, essentially all new ceilings in the classrooms, all new lighting, LED lighting, and many of the spaces get the dedicated outside air and humidity control. So all those student spaces would be touched in that regard, so they would be freshened up in that regard as well.
Yeah, that's important. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. And
I don't think we have something from this to move forward.
No, this was just informational for the board and the community to be updated.
But we'll add the roofing item, Ms. Macro, as a item for voting. Yep.
And
action.
Going back to.
Yeah, so now we'll go back to finance, right? Mr. Stropke, lead board liaison. It's all you.
I can jump in if you would like.
I'll just start.
Okay.
So item A, that's just moving the, approving the monthly budget, just moving that forward. Do we have 5, unless there's any questions?
I know we don't have Mr. Manzer, is there anything out of the ordinary?
No.
And then item B is the resolution to incur the debt, which is the first phase of the project. Unless I'm wrong, and Dane can, Mr. Dice can either jump in, or Dr. Walsh, or this is just getting us to the point where we're saying we're going to incur the debt. We're not signing anything today, that we're taking on debt today. Correct? I mean, we're not committing, we're not signing, closing document that says we're incurring $9 million today.
I think that what I've heard from this board, the majority of the board, is that there are infrastructure concerns, capacity concerns, and as we're working with Hayes Design Group and these plans keep getting refined, our goal is to start to borrow the money so that we can start to do the work, to hire the engineers, the architects, to start moving these projects forward. What is nice about our approach, and I'll let Jamie Doyle and Sean and Joe talk a little bit more about this, is that it gives this board flexibility as information is discovered, how much does it cost, and there may be a decision at the end, looking at the middle school, if we're doing 3 $10 million borrowings, that if this board or future boards decide that, we want to tackle this roof, or we want to handle this, or we want this enhancement, it gives us a little bit more flexibility as we're moving forward. Jamie Doyle is here, and I think it will help shed some light on this, but also in regards to this resolution, you've heard me announce that, Sean Guerin and Joe Muscatello are here to answer any questions that you may have also. So my thought would be, let's have Jamie Doyle go through, give us the current state of the market, and close with the bond resolution. Okay. Jamie, are you there?
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. Hopefully you can hear me clearly.
Yep.
And I'll be brief as well. You heard the full presentation last month at your meeting. But if you can see the two slides I sent over, page 1 is just an updated interest rate chart. It looks very similar to what I shared with you last month. We still have a slightly inverted yield curve, and I'm really focused on the lower right-hand corner of this index, in that the market has already priced in and is anticipating that the Federal Reserve Committee next week at their meeting will announce a decrease, the first decrease in a very long time. It's much anticipated. There's different schools of thought on if it's going to be 0.25% or perhaps 0.5%. But the market's already priced in about 0.25%, and that's that lower right-hand corner, that decline that you see there. Everything is looking very attractive, and if you turn to page 2 of my handout, to answer some of the prior questions, again, what we're discussing this evening is just the first $9,995,000. We'll be back to have subsequent discussions on any other future borrowings. And on the timeline, you can see we're getting ready. We sent the documents to the credit rating agency today, and what we're getting ready for is your September 24th voting meeting, because that's the meeting when the board would be asked to vote on the parameters resolution. And again, just as a reminder, that parameters resolution gives you the flexibility and gives us the flexibility to enter the market on the best day to price your bonds, as opposed to being wed to a board meeting voting date, which might not be the best day. Once that parameters resolution is approved and in place, we can basically have the sale and enter the market any day thereafter, but it won't be immediate. We expect to get the credit rating back around October 1, and then I think the earliest we would likely price the bonds and lock in interest rates on your behalf would be October 8th or so. And assuming it happens October 8th, that would put settlement around November 12th. That's when we actually receive the funds into your construction fund account, and you can begin to spend them on your design costs and to earn some interest on them while they're sitting there invested. Just one final reminder, and I'm sure Sean and Joe will touch on this as well in their comments, is that the parameters resolution will be for more than the $9,995,000. Again, that's for flexibility reasons. I need to be able to resize, move principal around in various years on the amortization schedule once we get the final pricing in place. But under no circumstances will we ever issue more than $9,995,000. That's all, this resolution and your prior authorization last month will allow for. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but, good news is that the market is looking really good, and everyone's anxiously awaiting the Fed's announcement next Wednesday.
And Jamie, just to clarify, the vote on September 24th is for the board to allow for this to happen, and at that point, we are giving approval for that bond issuance to occur, and it's out of our hands and it's into the experts' hands on when the right time is for that to happen, but that's our approval for that to occur, correct?
Correct. The
Yep.
24th would be the last formal board action that's required. Now, if the administration called us up and said something has changed, we need to hit pause on this for some other reason, other than market conditions, we would pause. I mean,
Yep.
we're not past the point of no return if something changes.
Right, no, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure for new board members that we understood the process.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're exactly right.
Sean, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure, Jamie. I just stepped to the podium and I was going to touch on that as well. To the president, section 1101 of the resolution does in fact delegate authority to you and administration to actually sign that final bond purchase agreement. So on the one hand, you're right. Once the board takes the public action on September 24th, sort of off to the races for the finance team. But ultimately, you still hold the controls over a final sale of the bonds and then a closing. And finance team will be in touch with administration leading up to the sale or the date of the sale of the bonds to make sure that we're all on the same page. Right. Here's where the market is. Things look the same. Things look different. So we'll be updating you throughout that process.
Right,
So
but from that perspective, it's you guys telling me that's what you want to have happen. and then I'm just putting my
A
name on
yes
a very
vote on the
expensive,
resolution
yeah,
does
a
in
very
fact
expensive sheet of
do
paper,
that.
that's
Yes.
exactly right.
Yes, a yes, just to be clear, a yes vote on the 24th does delegate authority to the board president in consultation with the team and administration to make a final decision on the issuance of the first series of bonds only. And again, the thought is we're doing a first piece because we know there's projects. The board is in favor of moving forward with the projects. It makes sense to do 10 million or under. It gives you beneficial interest rates. It also gives you a shorter call feature, which means we can come back and refund these bonds in the future for savings in a shorter period of time. And the thought would be that we would do that with each of the issues that we would be doing to finance the project.
Which I know in my 7 years here, we've done a couple times and has been much to our financial
Absolutely.
benefit, so.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
What's the advantage of issuing 3 bonds compared to issuing one for 30 million in your experience?
Well, there's the bank qualification status, if you're gonna do any amounts under $10 million in each calendar year. So there's that advantage. Slightly lower interest rates because banks and other institutions can buy those bonds and they get special interest rate treatment for those bonds, so they offer you lower rates. Secondly, the thought is that not knowing to the exact dollar amount what the project's going to end up costing, because obviously we haven't put the project out to bid yet. We have general estimates from the architects as to what we think the project's going to cost, and thus the plan is to do the following. The thought is that you wouldn't want to borrow all, say, $30 million today because you don't know what the world's going to look like in 2 or 3 years from now when you might be finishing up those projects. You might come way under budget. You may need more money. You may have changed your mind with certain aspects of the projects along the way, and so we feel that the borrowing in the multiple tranches gives you the best opportunity to be flexible, to make decisions as you move along, to size theoretically that final issue to meet with ultimately what's been done or what's you think is going to need to be done by the end of the project.
Well, and I think case in point, is the grant, right? Like you get a grant for 1.9 million, doesn't change everything.
No, but it would,
it's a windfall.
theoretically, you wouldn't have needed to borrow that $2 million.
Right, that's exactly right.
The other piece is, if you've been paying attention and listened to me at the end of the last school year, and I think Ms. Stepnick also in regards to the state appropriately funding schools. Schools in PA are still underfunded by $6 billion to $8 billion by estimate, and the court has ordered that to be rectified. The governor moves almost $1 billion into public education this year. There's no reason to believe that will not continue in years to come, which gives the board some flexibility in making some decisions with additional state revenue coming in. And I also would ask Rob that the estimates that you shared with us with the scope are very conservative estimates that we believe that's in that sweet spot, if not a little high, in regards to our anticipated costs. Is that correct?
Yeah, we tried to get a range that was conservative enough to have some movement in it.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody on the board have any questions?
No, I was just going to add that since we have 2 projects, the middle school and O Block, doing them in these 3 steps, O Block's going to be a little bit longer down the road because you got to do some more drawing work or, site planning and, development for an addition. But any of the work that needs to be done at O Block, it used to be O Block, but the middle school. Any work that needs to be done at the middle school, we can, once this is all in place, we can start going out to bid. When I look at those numbers, I didn't add them all up, but we're probably
$10 million.
$10 million, and maybe we save $1.9 million, or maybe we're able to put the $1.9 million in addition to the $10 million into O Block, and it's $11.9 million. But we can start moving forward with that now and not waiting until O Block is ready.
Both of these buildings are a priority.
Yeah.
The first recommendation was in regards to capacity, and that's why O Block was initially looked at. After the board has given us direction, the administration came back in regards to working with the architects and addressing the scope of the work at the middle school. And we believe that work can happen As soon as the money starts coming in, we can start to identify them. We'll work with our internal team. We plan on coming back to the board with specific recommendations of what we believe we can handle internally through our facilities department, and other work that the scope is beyond our capacity in regards to the fields or the facade of the building. And it is nice that, you know, we woke up this morning, we had an extra $1.9 million handed to us to do the projects that was already slated to do. So I will tell you that this administrative team is not done looking at alternative revenues, and we're going to continue to look at how we can offset these costs for the community at every avenue that we can.
And just as a side, you know, you explained today about, you know, we're moving forward because of the capacity issue at O Block. You know, it's not just because we want to add, you know, we're not spending $20 million just to add kindergarten, you know, but down the future, there'll be that ability if this board or another board decides that's how they want to move forward. And secondly, you know, all these upgrades and changes to middle school aren't Band-Aid changes. They're actually some infrastructure changes with the HVAC and the roof, and, you know, we're not just slapping a $10 million Band-Aid on.
No, what I heard very clearly, and I'm saying this with the architect sitting right across the room, is that both of the buildings have good bones and good structures, and we need to protect those assets by making sure the roof, the windows, doors, and the environment for our students in which they're learning is up to speed.
Right, and equal to the students who are in Holiday Park Intermediate, the high school, and Pivot Elementary, and making sure that we have equity across all of our buildings for our students and the instruction that they're receiving. So, do we have 5 to move? I think we just need to move the resolution forward. Letter B. Do we have 5? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Joe, I feel like we always hear from you and we didn't hear from you.
I know, they said it all.
I know, that's all right. I feel like you always talk, but it's okay, that's all right. Okay, Forbes Road CTC, nothing for tonight. If everybody's okay, I'm just gonna move through and then we'll just give reports at the action meeting. Intergovernmental, we did just meet, but we'll give an update. We met this afternoon, but we'll give an update at the action meeting. Legislative, Mrs. Stepnick, lead board liaison, the PSBA leadership officers elections. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm just very excited that our board president will be at a Franklin Regional, our neighboring district, and our friends, and every district is our friend. It's exciting that it's somebody local and close by. So as we express concerns at the statewide level, it'll be understood in a different way. So that's exciting to me. It looks like they're pretty picked out, but we just move forward the candidates for our slate, right? So we don't go for the eastern side, the western side, and everybody else. Just one candidate for a seat.
What's that? Franklin area. Yeah, it's not Franklin Regional. That's what I was double checking. I think the person is from Franklin area, not from Franklin Regional. So I think that's up north. No. Well, maybe that would be great if it is, but then that's wrong on this paper. Yeah, the PSBA document shows Franklin area, but that's still north and on this side of the state, right? Yeah, it's still on the west. Yeah, up by Grove City. Yep. Yeah, that's okay.
Either way, it's exciting because the West never gets the full recognition and it's important.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so there's nothing really except for moving this forward, correct, Ms. Macro? Do we have 5 to move it forward? Yep, perfect. Okay, and then we did operations, so personnel, we will deal with that at the action meeting. We talked about that in executive session, and then we have the litany of policies. So Ms. Eric.
Yes, once again. Yeah, we have several for first reading and second reading. Several of these are just language updates per the recommendation of the PSBA. So before we move those forward, is there any discussion on first reading of 1 through 6?
about the library?
Oh, yeah, I did want to bring that. I wanted to get clarification on the funding of the public library. It's stated in 909 at the very end.
It's something we've noticed also.
Okay.
Mr. Manzer was looking into that, and in light of his absence, I think if you want to hold that to October.
It's a first reading.
Yeah.
We can come back at our next meeting with a more detailed answer for
That sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Okay, do we have, well, we don't need 5 for the 1 through 6, so we're good. Go ahead, so second readings, we will need.
Okay, second readings, any discussion?
I will say that I didn't write them down, but I did. Hold on, and my computer crashed. 909, I had the same question as Renee, 904. I think it's 909 or 904. It is that our senior citizens get in free.
It's in the resources under Gold Card, and we are also moving it to the athletic website under tickets. But it has always existed under the Gold Card for senior citizens, and the athletic department knows that.
Can I ask, and I would say, I don't know, Renee, if you've had an elderly parent in the same situation. I would say maybe if we can just think about, at those events, how can that person at the gate, instead of having to take care of it, one, be provided information that the program exists. I don't know, put up a sign like, I don't want to call you out as a 65-year-old individual, you know what I mean? But, oh, by the way, did you know that this
Prove it.
exists? And if they did have to prove it, could they at that moment be able to prove it and not have to come up to the building? I'd love to encourage more senior citizens to come. And if they do come and they think, oh, I want to come to a game, now I came and you asked me for $4, but I thought it was free, now what?
Yes, that's something I will work with Mr. Carpenter. I will have an answer for the board in our Friday.
Yeah, the executive summary.
Executive summary. And I also put in here that Mr. Duluth is working for senior citizens for musical or ball play.
That's awesome. And only because I painfully have been at Boosters at the concession stand and watching that happen, and some confusion as parents or as elderly parents were paying a gate. No, you don't have to pay a gate. Why don't I have to pay a gate? And watching that conversation go by, I just think if there's a way to streamline that, and I know that's not easy because so many different people sell tickets. You know what I mean? That
We'll
standardize it in some way.
I would add, I talked to Mr. Carpenter about this. I
Yeah.
signed about 200 gold passes, that I signed each one. That, can we do a little bit better? Can it look like our ID badge and more of a credit card that people can carry around? So we are having those conversations. We want our seniors in the community to support our student athletes, to support the arts, and we want to include them in the happenings of the district, so we'll continue to improve that process.
It's something good to include on one of our updates, quarterly updates, just because we get a lot of feedback from seniors about taxes and stuff.
Yeah.
So with the benefit that we're providing.
That's going
like
to
a
be
newsletter.
So the next in Plum magazine,
Yeah.
that's already slated to list all of the tax benefits for our senior citizens. And we plan on using Carry On Communications in order to get the word out in every possible avenue that we can.
Yeah.
And it's also, I believe, posted on our website.
Yeah, but they're not going there.
I agree.
I didn't even know.
And if they are, they're lost. They're not. That's
Maybe
me.
that's something you can push up, under Savvy Citizen or something like take a composite going on in the community.
Yep.
Maybe they'll get that information in a different way.
Yep.
I think it's important to maybe put that all at the community center.
Push it out.
And go from there as well. I agree. I want to encourage as many people as possible, make it as simple as possible.
Yep. And I think too, we can, I know you have a meeting coming up as a result of our intergovernmental, so maybe just including that in that meeting as well. Random question, in the draft policy for 824, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't because we missed highlighting something. There's like random places where the writing looks like it's emboldened, not a different color, but like Yeah. Under social interactions, number 2, exchanging notes, emails, or other communications of a personal nature looks darker than the other writing. I just want to make sure that wasn't supposed to be green or red or something.
Yeah, that's this.
And then 12 is darker.
Online.
What's that? Yeah, on policy.
It's like a bold black text instead of red or green.
Yeah, policy, or draft policy 824, I think it's page 4.
Number 12?
Number 2, number 12, and then part of number 16. It's fine if it meant nothing.
Yeah.
See here, taking a note on outline prior notification is emboldened. And then number 2, exchanging notes and other.
I don't see it that way on my screen.
I don't see that on our.
Do you see it that way?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was crazy at home looking at it and I kept moving my screen.
Observation.
That's why I wanted to look, because I'm looking at my screen and it does not.
Maybe just in the like whatever permissions we have, it does that. It's not that way up there. I cannot see that, so. Appreciate you pointing it out, but I can't see that. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't because there were changes that we missed. Okay.
Okay, so do we have 5 to move those forward? Okay.
Awesome. All right, and then lastly, student services. Thank you, Ms. Aarons. Student services, Mrs. Stepnick, lead board liaison. Are you?
Yes, I think, I'm not gonna let you take over, but this is, again, another, recurring agreement.
Yes, it's an annual agreement that we have. Right. It's renewed annually.
Any questions or concerns on it? Okay, do we have 5 to move it forward? All right. I think that's it. So upcoming public meeting, action meeting Tuesday, September 24th here in the library. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, you too. You guys have a good evening.
Oh, it's wonderful. I absolutely love it. Yeah. He loves it. I love it because he loves it. You know what I mean? I'm so happy he's excited about it.
And is he still visiting the chickens?
Yes, he's obsessed with the chickens. We just, oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, we just.
Is he AM or PM? I'll have to
He's PM.
Okay.
Yeah, Cody is his name.
Okay.
He would appreciate a visit.
Oh, I love. Every 2 years, we have elections. One is for 4 board members, and one is usually for 5.
Have a good night. You too.
Have a good one.
You too, thank you.
Stay away from the drive home. So everyone that's on the board will be on the board. Just stay from your
She came in. She was, there was.
Take care. Are you good? So sorry. Take care of yourself.
I'll walk out this way.
Yeah, I got it.
Well, it's actually very funny. Hey, Dr. Boyer, when you come back, number one, if you don't know who he is, we should go Daggett because he's presenting at your thing. And when you come back, I want to know if you love him or you hate him.
Okay.
Because people are incredibly divided and he's your keynote speaker. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Okay, I want to see what that actually has to say about Bill Daggett.
Well,
He's famous in the online education world in the last 10 or 15 years.
Okay.
I won't give you anything one way or the other, I just will be interested to hear what you think.
Sounds good. I'll follow up. Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good night. Likewise. You good, Jen?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna lock the door if it's not locked.
I will take care of it.
Thank you.
Oh, so really take care. All right, see you.
Proposed season.
Coming quickly. Ready, kid? Yes, sir. Jen, you nailed it.
I said 8:30.
You nailed it.
You can't get much better than that.
No,
Have a good night, thank you.
you too. Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Take care.
Yeah. We can start by these things back. Let me call Bob and tell him to get a hold of Glenn.